WDW character department at Magic Kingdom many years ago. I can't remember breaking character, but I do remember working the restaurant at the Contemporary for dinners. One time we had a Make-A-Wish kid as a guest, and they were just the most awesome kid, and it was just heartbreaking to know why they were there. So our lead let us do a group hangout with the kid for something like an hour in costume, playing and running around, and having fun. You could never play like that in the parks, you'd start a kid riot. No consequences, we just all hoped we made that little kid happy. Bonus fun fact. The goofy costume for the electric light parade was worn by a float driver. Because the driver was seated, no pants with that costume, just the glittery top, and head and gloves. We had a similar experience. At a character meal with Eric, Ariel, Rapunzel and Flynn. Everything went as normal, though they probably noticed my son was more interested and chatty than most boys his age. After the meal, the characters are in a cordoned off area taking pictures with a bunch of adults individually, who seem to be part of a corporate event. The adults don't seem that interested. Eric sees my son staring at them longingly while we wait for my wife and daughter to finish in the bathroom. He slyly sends a handler to chat with us, and a minute later when the last corporate dude is done, she invites us in for a private hangout. We start to go over, but I'm torn whether to wait for my wife and daughter to come out, but not wanting to deny my son any time, since the characters obviously won't be able to stay long. Eric probably visited our table an hour ago, but immediately remembers us and recognizes the dilemma, and suggests my son and I spend time with his friends, and he'll make sure my wife and daughter join us. Sure enough, he spots them before I do, and my daughter is greeted in the lobby, and Eric asking her to join him, because Ariel was dying to see her again. She had told them that Ariel was her favorite princess. We ended up spending probably 10 minutes in just a little nook with them, chatting and being silly. The actors probably gave up any break time they had between meal sittings to do that for my kids. I could tell a dozen stories like this about the actors there, and my kids will always have a sense of wonder and magic thanks to them. I hugged the snot out of Stitch a couple of years ago, and I'm pretty sure that I heard a squeak. If you're reading this, friend of Stitch, I'm very sorry for hugging you so hard. I watched Jack Sparrow talking to a kid when the kid started puking everywhere. He said, "Too much of the old apple juice, eh? Been there myself. Even ran out once." All the while, the kid is just projectile vomiting everywhere. Jack Sparrow has to be one of the most fun to play, you get to act drunk all day. I wasn't a character, but was a cast member. I was walking from backstage into the park. If you've seen the transitions, they are S-shaped to keep people from peeking in. I was pushing a dolly/hand cart. The ones we used had two long supports sticking out from the end. As I was going though, Winnie the Pooh was walking in from the other side. I hit him/her square in the leg with it. Hearing Winnie the Pooh say, "fuck," was a pretty damn funny. Did they at least say it in the Pooh voice? A bit late to the thread. Wife doesn't have a Reddit, but she's a Disney princess. She has a lot of passion for her job, and has never broken character. It's a fireable offense. The girls know that their job is coveted, so they're on their best behavior. If they break character in a bad way, Disney will quickly replace them with another girl going to the monthly auditions. She loves a good dad joke, so one guest made a real clever one while she was meeting his kid, and instead of her in-character princess laugh, she genuinely laughed. The stories she tells me are insane, hysterical, sad, and heartwarming. If anyone wants to hear more, she's more than happy to share, omitting any details that'll jeopardize her job. *edit for grammar. I'd love to hear more stories, if she's willing to share. Wow, they don't mess around with their silence now, huh? You gotta understand, this is a highly coveted job. This is roleplay in its highest form. It's truly a job of passion, and nobody can dispute that. You aren't going to find people who have this job who aren't absolutely 100% into roleplay to the fullest, so it shouldn't be a surprise that it's really easy for them to always stay in character no matter the situation. There are a lot of people who pick up their entire lives, transplant to LA/Florida to work at Disney just to have the chance to be a Disney character. It's really like that. The only way I could ever see an in-character person breaking character was if it was upsetting the child some reason and they wanted to discreetly, I'm sure remind the kid that it's just a costume. I wasn't a character but worked closely with them as a photographer. Disney performers are trained to never break character for whatever reason. They have ways of signaling their character attendant that they are in distress, and it's generally up to the character attendant to avoid any weird or uncomfortable situations. As far as weird situations, they do get people that stalk them in the park. Like some people get in those lines multiple times to get a photo with a specific performer. The weird side of Disney fanatics are something else. Yep. I heard of one performer who had to get a restraining order after one of her fans got a full back tattoo of her. The tattoo was not of her in character. My cousin used to do this when I was a kid. We'd always go try to find her on days we knew she was working. She mostly played Pooh Bear. She would never say out loud, "Hi Noogatuck," but she would get very animated and jump around to give us hugs. Occasionally she'd still say things like, "I have a rumbly in my tummy." I thought I was the coolest kid cause I knew Pooh Bear. You were correct about that. Saw a recent video on YouTube of a Ray talking to this little girl and her dad had just started filming. Apparently the story the little girl was telling got Ray laughing so hard, she had to turn her face away and eventually got up and ran away because she couldn't stop laughing at whatever the little girl's story was. Super adorable. I've seen articles that face characters can leave at any time if harassment is bad, using in-character excuses. Costume characters always have an attendant with them to control unruly guests. As long as your harassment is in character, like locking them up in a tower or kissing them while they sleep, there is nothing they can do. I couldn't even get the zombies at Halloween Horror Nights to break character. Asked one where the restroom was, and he flung his arms in the proper direction and grunted. Pretty hilarious. A few years ago at Halloween Horror Nights I had a brief chat with a chainsaw-wielding maniac. He screamed, I screamed, I asked if he was having fun, and he said, "Hell yeah, I love scaring people," and off he went. Worked at the Disney store in late 87 and 88 in Orange County, Car. I think, at the time, it was like one of only a handful of stores open. The back of the store had a big screen, where we constantly played some Disney video. Every once in a while, the biggest, muscular, blackest, gayest dude would come in and kindly request we play anything Pooh related. He'd then proceed to prance around the store. He came in the evenings, towards closing, and sing the Tigger parts of either dialogue or any song. Turns out he was one of the Tiggers at Disneyland. Dude just loved being Tigger. I wish I loved something as much as that guy loves Tigger. A few days ago, me, my sister, and her friend went to the New Galaxy's Edge area. My sister's friend was around 6'1", and had never seen Star Wars. We were walking around, and Chewbacca ran up to her. He was around her height, and hugged her. He put his hand above his head, showing they were both tall. She was super embarrassed, and while we were walking away, he did that fist pump thing. Since then we refer to her as Chewbacca's girlfriend. Seriously the cutest thing ever. What if Chewbacca was played by a female and was super excited to see a fellow talk female? A bit late, but I did the college program at WDW. Never saw a character break when I worked audience control for parades. Definitely saw a few fully costumed characters puke in their heads, and Prince Naveen once got heat exhaustion and managed to leave the parade route fully in character. Once the parade was over, we saw him in the back almost completely passed out. Typically the parade will just speed up to double time if a character actor is in distress.